It's not even dawn in Cooper's Pen, Trelawney, when the heavy machinery rolls in. Before the sun fully rises, an excavator tears into corrugated metal, flattening the homes of more than 30 families. The government is applying this same force across the island, utilizing military personnel to level illegal settlements in places like the Bernard Lodge development. Vast, densely packed communities, constructed from informal materials and metal roofs, are layered into the hillsides and spread across the island's challenging terrain. They sit in sharp contrast to the vast, highly developed footprints of nearby resort towns, where massive private companies fight bitterly for every inch of lucrative coastal real estate. When you mix these two extremes, quiet civil property disputes boil over. The moment the bulldozers arrive, paperwork disagreements explode into highly volatile national emergencies. From the perspective of private landowners in the state, sending in the machines is a harsh necessity. To them, it's the only way to enforce strict property laws and regain control of land they believe is being stolen. But from the perspective of the evicted families and international watchdogs, these forced removals are a state-sponsored violation of the basic human right to shelter. Jamaica is locked in a zero-sum legal crisis. To uphold the right to private property, the human rights of the occupants are effectively overruled. The inevitability of these bulldozers is driven by a specific legal mechanism that has locked the country in a state of gridlock. The fuse for this crisis is an antiquated piece of English common law known as adverse possession. Under this law, occupying private land unchallenged for 12 years transfers legal title to the squatter. This conflicts with Jamaican culture. Many go abroad, saving to develop a plot back home, only to return and find their claim permanently erased by a squatter. The Jamaican Bar Association argues this loophole doesn't protect the vulnerable. Instead, it creates a system legally sanctioning trespassing and land theft. A colonial-era rule intended to ensure farmland wasn't abandoned has inadvertently been weaponized into a lucrative legal strategy. In Trelawney's Orange Grove, occupants used political interventions and a maze of court appeals to stall eviction from private resort land for nearly 20 years. But in the Bernard Lodge development, the situation is more volatile. Criminal gangs are capturing hundreds of acres of agricultural land, bypassing civil courts entirely. These gangs are carving up the captured acreage, illegally subdividing it, and selling fraudulent lots to buyers desperate for a home. Facing this dual-front crisis of civil delays and brazen criminal expansion, Prime Minister Andrew Holness introduced a divided strategy. For legitimate, long-term informal settlers, the government is engaging in a peaceful process to regularize their ownership. But against gang-sponsored land grabs, the state is taking a militarized stance. To stop gangs from establishing permanent communities, the state is deploying heavy machinery to immediately dismantle the illegal structures. When civil courts fail to resolve disputes quickly, the state skips the gavel and relies on physical force to reclaim the land. However, the opposition's Human Rights Commission argues that regardless of who holds the paper title, ripping families out of their homes for pre-dawn evictions violates international law. These actions are a breach of the United Nations Human Rights Conventions, international agreements that Jamaica has signed and promised to uphold. The human cost of clearing these lands is immense. It generates immediate homelessness, deepened poverty, and creates fierce mistrust toward the government. This leaves the country paralyzed between two options. Failing to enforce property boundaries empowers criminal networks, but enforcing them with excavators creates a humanitarian disaster. Until Jamaica designs a uniquely Caribbean legal framework that bridges colonial property laws with the modern right to housing, the cycle of illegal construction and violent demolition will continue.